it's Tina. I wanted to show you the yarn I'm using, Mary Maxim Mellow Spun. It's nice and soft. It's the lime color, Ultra Mellow Spun. I think this was Premier's Candy Shop. It's a nice cake in the color Twizzler. I ended up color controlling from a previous project, so I'm using the leftover bits from another roll, but that's where it came from. And the next is a Mary Maxim Simply Worsted, and the color is green. Last I have Yarnard Baby. The color is white, 501, and everything here is acrylic. So I'm starting with the yellow. That's another acrylic. I don't remember what it was exactly. I think it was Red Heart Sport yarn. I do 4 chains, and then I slip stitch into the first chain, and then I make single crochets. I do a slip stitch to level up, and then I do single crochets. I make 8 single crochets in the ring all the way around. You could do a magic ring if you like. Sometimes I like doing magic rings, sometimes I just don't want to do that. So it's up to you. This is Crochet Your Way today, so you can decide which way you like to do it. But I put 8 single crochets into the ring, and then I slip stitch to the first single crochet that I made in that row, or that round, and then one more slip stitch, cut it and tie it off, or just pull it through, and it ties on its own. And I think I'm doing a 4.5 millimeter hook for the flower center and the flower petals. So we're going to be doing some popcorn stitches in white. So I slip stitch and then I'm going to do a stacking single crochet up to the level of a double crochet. And if you need more detail in how to do this stitch, I have it linked in the description below. You could do 3 chains if you like, but I like how bulky the stacked single crochet is. It doesn't leave a gap. So do 4 double crochets all in the same stitch. Pull that last loop up, go into the top of your stacked single crochets or the top of your 3 chains. Hook that loop back through to slip stitch and pull it all through, and then do another slip stitch to cinch it, and then one more to create a space. And just pull that cluster back a little bit so you can see the next stitch a little better. And you do it all over again. 4 double crochets into 1 stitch. Now I know this stitch as a popcorn stitch. If you know it by a different name, please let me know in the comments down below. But this is the special cluster that we're going to be working with in this tutorial, is the popcorn stitch. So when you get to the end of your 4 double crochets, take your hook out and go in from the front to the back of the first double crochet. Grab your loop and then pull it through, cinch it tight with a slip stitch, and then do another slip stitch so you have some space. And then you go into the very next stitch and you do it all over again. Keep doing that all the way around until you come to the end. When you finish your flower, just slip stitch it onto the last stitch onto the first stitch of your petal. Now take your background color and put a slip knot on your hook and pull it through so that you can do a slip stitch onto the space between the flowers. That's your chains between. Do 2 single crochet in that space, one after the other. And you can crochet over your ends. Into the next space, then go directly into the next space and do a single crochet, 2 chains, and then a single crochet. Go into the next space between the petals and do 2 single crochet. Go into the very next space and do a single crochet, 2 chains, and a single crochet. That's your corners. Next space, 2 single crochet. In the next space, a single crochet, 2 chains, and then a single crochet. Next space is 2 single crochet. In the next space, it should be a single crochet, 2 chains, and a single crochet. Slip stitch into the first stacked single crochet. Do stacked single crochet up to the level of a double crochet. Put a double crochet in each single crochet until you get to your corner. Then when you get to the corner, put in the space, the 2 chain space, a double crochet, 2 chains, and then a double crochet. Make sure that you get that first space there. Don't skip that. Put your double crochet in there and go across until you get to the next corner, putting in double crochets, 1 in each chain from the previous row. Sometimes you have to spread it apart to get into that 2 chain space. And make sure that you get that first space in that first chain there. I tend to go to the left as my chain space, so that's why I choose that chain space on the left of the space, the corner spaces. If you tend to favor the right side, then you would do it just the opposite. You would get those chains just before your corners rather than the one right here that I get. Don't do both, do one or the other. You don't want to inadvertently increase your stitches, but if you miss doing them all together, you will decrease your stitches. So that's usually where I mess up, is on the corner there and at the top of the stacked single crochets. So if it helps, you can put a stitch marker at the top of your stacked single crochets for each round. So now I'm looking for that top of that stacked single crochet. It tends to slant quite a bit. And it's a little bit thicker stitch. When you look at it, you can kind of mistake it for 2 stitches when it's actually your stacked single crochets. So now we're going to do our strawberries. So we do a stacked single crochet in the green, but don't complete it. Just stop with 2 stitches on your hook at the top of the second stacked single crochet. Then change your color to your strawberry color. It's a lot of yarn management. I yarn over my tails right away. I don't cut the background color. Do a double crochet into the same stitch as your stacked single crochet. Just go right into that same stitch. Put 4 double crochets in that one space as if you were making a popcorn stitch, just like the flowers. Take your hook out on the last stitch. Just leave up the loop, just like you were doing your flowers. Put your hook into the first of the strawberry stitches at the very top of those double crochets. Get your dark green for the stem of your strawberry. Put your hook through the first loop and then also pull through all of that green. Again, yarn management here. It is a little fiddly. So now you just go ahead and put a little slip stitch on that first loop, pull it through the back loop. Now you have to go between your stitches and pull up yarn. Don't work it off yet. You just want to pull it up one by one in between each one of those strawberry stitches. And then you pull through the whole thing and then you cinch it up with a slip stitch. And then pull all your yarn ends, make sure it's, neat. Make it tight. You're going to cover all of those stitches, all those loose yarns, and even the live yarns with your next stitch. So bring up your background color and pull it through that slip stitch. Cinch up everything. Get ready to cover it in the next stitch with a double crochet. And I go twice. I do 2 double crochets over my my gathered yarns, and it goes down to the very second stitch. So you've got your bunch of popcorn stitches in the one stitch, and then you have your continued background stitches. Okay, so now I'm going to tuck those back and continue going around the granny square as if you were working another row. So when you get to the corner, you put a double crochet into the corner, two 2 chain stitches and then another double crochet. Then double crochet into each previous row's double crochets until you get to the center. Go ahead and get ready to make your strawberry stitch. Remember, leave 2 loops on your hook when you're ready to change a color at the top of that stitch. There's a lot of yarn management going on back behind the scenes here. Go ahead and make your popcorn stitch. Put 4 double crochets into that same stitch that you just made. So your strawberry stitch will share the same space as the last background stitch. They all go in the same stitch. And go ahead and pull up your next one. And when you're pulling your yarns from the other strawberry, just make sure you have enough give. You don't want to make it too tight so that it causes your whole square to kind of pucker. So there, I'm pulling it in the back just to make sure it's not too tight. And I use a slip stitch to anchor it onto that stitch. And then I pull up the loop, and then I come over, and it's almost like doing a little Tunisian stitch here at the top of the strawberry, because what you're doing is you're pulling that one loop all the way through, and then you're going in between each stitch, but you're not finishing any stitch. You're just pulling them up, pulling all those loops up onto your hook. So there's the stitches, and then you do a slip stitch to anchor it down. And then you're ready to pull up your background color. It's sometimes hard to find. And then you want to do a double crochet after you've tightened everything down. And you want to cover those yarns. So you grab them, pull them over, the loose ones. I just had to check and make sure I had the right ones. So really the hardest thing about this square is all of the yarn management on the back. I find that everything else you get really good at, because I'm really just doing popcorn stitches and double crochets and single crochets and chains and slip stitches. So it's all basic stitches except for the popcorn stitch. That's the only real new thing. And then the top of the strawberry is kind of like a single crochet, 4 single crochets together at the top. Or it's kind of like doing a Tunisian stitch. You keep pulling up loops and then you go back across all at once. It's 4 single crochets together. Anyway, you go back into your double crochets into each stitch, and then you have a double crochet, 2 chains, and a double crochet on the corners. When you get to the center, leave 2 of the background color loops on your hook at the top of the middle double crochet. Go ahead and switch over to your strawberry color, and then do your 4. Yeah, make sure things are kind of tight; they aren't too loose. And then just do your 4 double crochets in the same stitch, just like you were doing a popcorn stitch. I was checking to make sure that the yarn connecting from one strawberry to the next wasn't too tight. Okay, I'm making sure I put my 4 double crochets in. And this is where I make a design decision. I'm going to go ahead and change color at halfway through that last stitch just to see if I like it better. And I think I end up sticking with that going forward. It's up to you which way you like to do it. And I pull it all through after I've done a slip stitch, and I pull it through the first stitch on the strawberry, and then I go back through and pull up a loop between each of those stitches on the strawberry. And I cinch it down, or actually it helps when you pull it up a little bit, and then bring it all through all those loops to finish that 4 single crochet together on top of the strawberry. I do a slip stitch, and then I pull the green background color through that slip stitch, cinch everything up again, make sure my yarns are ready for covering, and I do my double crochet in the very next stitch. And I cover them again in the next double crochet stitch, just to make sure they're nicely anchored. I could go all the way around. I could anchor them all the way around, but I just didn't want to do that. Because this is a pillow, I made a design choice not to do that extra work with the yarn and on every single stitch. But if you're making a blanket out of this, then go ahead and anchor them all the way around. It's up to you. So continue doing your stitches all the way around till you get to the end of your row, putting your strawberries clusters in the middle of each row. So finish out your round with a slip stitch into the top of your stacked single crochet. Single crochet into the next background stitch. Just go behind your strawberry and start making single crochets. And when you get to the corner, crochet 2 chains and another single crochet. And this is a kind of a cinching round. I just go around and get everything kind of squared off again, because the strawberries tend to spread out a little. I suppose you could have just used another round of double crochet instead of putting in this round of single crochets, but it was what I felt like I needed to do. And I stayed with this this pattern just to I did it with these the flowers, the row immediately after the flowers. I only used single crochet, and I did it again after the strawberries. This also, I think, makes a tighter stitch behind the strawberry and causes them to be more puffy. But that's just my opinion. You crochet the way you want to. This is crochet your way. So, you know, feel free to modify the pattern as you see fit and what makes you happy. So complete your round with single crochets and 2 single crochets separated by double crochets in the corner, and just pay special attention to cinching up those strawberries. I will meet you at the end. So we're at the end, and we are just putting our last stitch in. We're going to level up our stacked single crochets And there is a link in the description box if you need more detailed instruction on how to do the stacked single crochet. So we finished this round. I just wanted to kind of stretch it out to let you see what it looked like, and pinch those little strawberries and put all those yarn ends underneath. So now we're going to do the last row, which is just double crochets all the way around, and we add 2 chains in the corner after we've grown those corners by a double crochet on either end of those 2 chains. Sometimes it can get a little tight behind the strawberries because I do make a point of making those stitches extra tight so they stay nice and plump looking. So continue on around doing your double crochets, and I will meet you at the end. We're back, and we're at the end, the last stacked single crochet up to the level of a double crochet. We're just going to slip stitch into the top, do another slip stitch, and cut our yarn. And I think at some point I cut the strawberry and the tops yarn so that those ends weren't constantly twisting around and around as I was crocheting. As soon as you finish your last strawberry, you can cut the ends. So that is a square. This is how I join. I did a zigzag stitch. You go through the front to the back and pull the yarn up. And you just do a slip stitch on each side. You do a slip stitch on one side, and then a slip stitch on the other. It's fairly simple, and I think it makes a very neat decorative join. So here I am finishing the join with a slip stitch and pull through the yarn, and then this is what it looks like before I join this to the back. So you can see the zigzag slip stitch between each of the squares. This is the back. I did a very simple rectangle double crochets. I made a slit in the middle, and I made a flap that decreased with each row so that it was kind of like a trapezoid. And later I could put buttons in it if I want, but right now it's fine. It's tucked in this way and it stays put. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial for the Strawberry Fields crochet pillow cover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.